Right, the gearbox parts. Now, I put that little short out yesterday of this 35 back end that I've had tucked away. Now, you may recall ages ago, I pulled a 23C engine apart and look, and I've just pulled that apart for measuring, and I've got to make some bushings and bearings and all that when we get back onto a 23C engine. And the story with that tractor was that my friend Chris, I just did some machining for Chris last week on a handbrake, a Range Rover handbrake in his Mazda truck. We machined up all the bosses and all that after work, and works a treat, he reckons. Pardon me. But yeah, look, Chris had to shift house one time, and he rolls in with his Mazda truck and he says, "Hey, I got this arse end of this bloody old 35. He said, "I've kept the engine out of it. Do you want the arse end?" He said, "I found it on the scrap pile at the scrap metal mob." And he said, "There was a couple of bits I thought would be handy, so I grabbed it." So, and he didn't have anywhere for it, and he didn't have a 35. He just wanted the diesel engine out of it. And so I said, "Oh, look, chuck it here, Chris." And it had been sitting for years, and sitting for years with the top off it, and all the selector rails were rusty, and you couldn't move the gears and all that. And I thought, "Oh, I'll leave it there, Chris." I've popped it over near the heap over there near the bush, and I've had it there for bloody ages, and never give it much thought. Never presumed there'd be anything decent in it because it come off the scrap pile. But anyway, when last week I showed you the planetary that came out of this 65 gearbox, and this 65 gearbox, look, it's in bad nick. It's in poor order. So yeah, I spent last week having a look, see what parts I had, and I showed you last week about pulling the gearbox out of the 135 out the back, or the FE35 here. So I thought, before I start doing a tractor that's all in one piece, before I pull a tractor apart, I had this back end over there, and I thought, look, I'll just tip him up on its end, I'll undo the bolts, I'll pull the diff off the gearbox and see what the planetary was like. Because if you remember, mine had the star gears were slopping around and the teeth were pointy, and I looked at Sparex, and they haven't got any in Australia, they're in Europe. And so I'd have to get one in somehow, which is doable. But anyway, I thought yesterday I'll pop this gearbox apart and look, just have a look, get it off my mind. So I opened it up, and well, bugger me, the planetary is like brand new. It is really like brand new. The thrust washers on either side of the ring gear, you can hardly see a mark on them. No movement. Look. It's like hitting the jackpot. Some of the selectors, now the selectors were quite rusty and took some getting out, but I sat there with emery tape and polished them with emery tape, then turned them and polished them again until I could get them out. So the selector rail, where are we here? Yep, I think I can show you that. So the selector rail had been welded up, and the grooves had been recut with an angle grinder. And look at these ones, beautiful. A bit of a bead blast, they'll be fine. The forks are the same part number. Now, part of the video yesterday, James Brown, Jack Attack, who you'll see Jack Attack comment on my videos, he picked up that it looked like a 9 on one, but once I cleaned it up, it did look like a 9. Once I cleaned it up, they're both the exact same part number. So I've got a good fork, a good selector, and a good selector shaft. So look, that worked really well. So I started looking at the rest of it, and I thought, I wonder if I can get those selector shafts out. So this is that's the wear you can see in the selector there, and This is the one out of the gearbox. Look, a little bit rusty, but a bead blast will do it. But there is that, look, there's just no wear there. Now, another thing I didn't realise until I hopped into the parts book and started checking numbers across is when you have the two selectors for the 1, 2, 3 reverse, these forks are exactly the same number, just turned around. So, and I don't know, I just never noticed that before. So yeah, the one on the right can go on the left and the one on the left can go on the right. No troubles at all. So this old shaft, it's been dragged through the mill and had it once more the angle grinder treatment. So the shafts on it, I persevered. It took me quite a few hours to get these shafts out, but the Selector shafts on this are in good nick. Done very little again. I will sandblast them up and tidy them up, make them okay. So it looks like the Selector rail trouble I'm out of the tin. So these will do the job nicely with a clean up. These forks with no wear, they're the same part number, but the FE35 gearbox, it was a gold tractor. There's gold paint everywhere on it. It's got MHF on the part number 180437M1, and the Massey Ferguson one, the 65, didn't have the MHF on it. So same part number, they just took the MHF off over time. So appears to be the same part. So look, that's good. Now the main shaft here, yep, the main shaft, where the needle bearing goes in to the back end there, to the next shaft, it's pitted from rust on the 65 a bit. Now, a bit of a story. Look, I think we're right with this gear. There's probably, no, the wrong shaft land. Yeah, I've got a brand new shaft to replace this fella. Now, I didn't know I needed a new shaft, and we're agents for Quality Tractor Parts in Ireland, in Australia here, and they had a clearance bin, and I just look in it now and then, and I saw this shaft for a 6-speed 35, 65, 165, and they were getting out of it. It was a superseded number or something like that, and it was something like $30 or $38, something like that. And I thought, oh, I should just buy that bloody thing, because you know I got tractors to restore out there and that, and I'm bound to need one day. So I just bought it, and I've had it tucked away in a drawer there. So bugger me dead, into the 65 she'll go. So I'll have a new shaft in it. The new planetaries, yeah, so it's starting to look good. The main gear that's faulty now is the PDO. Oh, come up here. So this little shaft here for your dual clutch, that's your main gear shaft that drives it. Now, a 65 and a 35 are different there. The 65 gearbox runs faster, so if you want to make your 35 go faster for road runs, find a standard 6-speed box and just pop in off a standard 65, a low clearance 65, and that will get your tractor going faster on the road. So the gear here from the PDO, that's a bit dicky, a bit rusty, a bit worn, but all the rest really does look serviceable. So I think we're going to get away with it. We'll just see. What I hope to do shortly at the end of the video, I did a quick video yesterday of a walk around the paddock, and I just out the front and to show you the gearbox I was starting on, and so there'll be a couple of little videos add-ons here, but I think with the gearbox we probably nearly have enough for me to start moving on. I put a video out with the gearbox last week, just pulling the selectors and that out. I've got one coming out this week with the front section of the gearbox and knocking the shafts out, and you just got to remember, top shaft goes backwards, bottom shaft goes forwards, I think. Anyway, whatever it was, I buggered that up in the video. And so there will be the videos coming with that. They're already filmed, they're okay. But then I came to a standstill because of the parts I needed, and I had to go searching for parts. So I think this FE35 back end has got me out of the tin. So look, we'll just see. Funny enough, that engine, when I pulled it apart, Chris ended up giving me the engine because he had to shift house, and he said, oh look, you just have it, I don't want it. So he gave me the engine, and that was the one we opened up, and it still had grease on the crank and all that from when they put an engine kit through it. So I lifted the lift cover off to have a look. Look, it's lovely and clean in there. Even the rollers on the quadrant aren't rusted or pitted under there. So I think I've got a good 35 lift cover and pistons and all that sort of thing out of it as well. So yeah, we'll see. Then there's the axles and the axle housings and all the other. So I will perhaps rattle along today and get that apart. Just see how we go with it all. But now I've got some parts, I'll probably do videos, shorter videos, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it takes, on like just doing this bit, resealing this and the bearings. Then we'll go to the next shaft and just do a little video on that. Just little segments so you can follow along in short snippets just to get your shaft done, so you haven't got to watch a whole session just to work out one shaft, which way the gear goes because you forgot or something like that. So anyway, see how we go. I was doing some crosses the other day. I put out a little short on that. Crosses the other day with a CNC router, and the motor just come to a halt and kept moving and broke the tip. Pardon me. So I've ordered a new spindle for it. I've had a water cooled spindle in it, but I couldn't sort of find a 1.5 kilowatt water cooled spindle of 80mm bore that sort of suited. So I bought an air cooled one. I'm just going to try it and see. Yeah, it may be fine. If it's rubbish, well, we'll soon know. So I've got to sort that out. I put some time in Saturday evening, or Saturday night really, trying to diagnose that. Plasma Dave said, some of the wire fittings inside the box, they're renowned for having shit fittings. So I've pulled all that apart, and look, it looks fine. I've ohms tested the cables and all that. So I think when I put the new spindle in the CNC router, it'll be okay, but whether that comes, I don't know. Oh, another little story. Just when you thought you'd had enough. The other day, Jude says on the way home from work, could I drop into the butcher's? And I said, yeah, no worries. So went to the butcher, and most of it's for me. I like rump steak of a night, so I go to my butcher and he cuts me a bit of rump and that. So he gives me a bag of stuff, and we always get Sansa a couple of bags of dog bones, and I open my fridge up. I pull out the slide on the ute, and the fridge drops down, and I put it in and put it back up. So I got home. Pardon me. So I got home, pulls the fridge out, and he gets the meat, and I thought, I'll put that fridge back. But then I would have had to sit the bags with the meat and all on the gravel on the driveway, and I thought, I won't do that. I'll take it inside rather than, in case there's a couple of rocks or that on Jude's bench in the kitchen. So I'll do that later. So fair enough. I went in there and sorted all that out. Got it in the fridge inside and in the freezer for the dog bones and all that. And so had a couple of time to go up the shed. And since I run over Sansa's front feet, I let her come in the front with me. And she gets in there and she gets all bloody excited and all kissy. And so she sits her feet on the console, and on the way up she's bloody licking your hair, just being a pain in the arse in general. So what happens, buddy, jump in, off we go up the back. Forgot the fridge slide was hanging out the side, and because I've got a licky dog there right in my face, well, I can't see the left-hand mirror, because normally I look in the mirrors all the time. I live in the things because I'm always worried about leaving like the fridge out or the door open. But pardon me, a bit of asthma with the weather change. So yeah, I was going to mow that afternoon, so I thought, oh, I'll just park behind Goldie. Then I thought, oh no, I'll park next to Goldie, then I can do a mower run across. So I just backed and come round, and I just felt this little, and I thought, what the, and then it hit me, oh, you've left your bloody fridge out, you dickhead. And so I've got an MSA fridge slide, and it comes out and drops so you can see in it. It drops 300mm. Well, of course I bent the frame on that, and what happened is I just come up next to the gold tractor, and I was only going slow, and I just sort of felt something and stopped. And the carry-all on Goldie, I've got it strapped up with a ratchet strap from when we went away, and I've just left the ratchet strap there in case I wanted to go to a show or something. Well, I just touched the carry-all with this thing. There's not a mark on the carry-all, on the wood on the carry-all, but it twisted the frame on this thing. So I thought, oh, bugger. So I backed up and tried to get the fridge back in and couldn't get it in. And pulled it down and levered it and buggered around, and I thought, oh, I've got to get to work in the morning. How am I going to deal with this bullshit? So I got a bar and I bloody tried to straighten it up. Then I thought, right, I went and got the forklift and pushed it back straight, and it bent some of the arms where the scissor thing is. So I pulled them off, got them on the anvil and straightened them all out and put them back in, and it still won't bloody get work. And so I can get it up and get it in, but it gets about so far in, and wow, you've got to bloody give it some to get it in. And so yes, and when Chris was here the other day doing his thing, we were having a look, and I can see, look, it's got a double ball roller down there, and one of them's got a bloody, like a kink in it, but you would think that wouldn't matter too much, but yeah, the whole thing's just twisted and it's just shit. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. It was an MSA fridge slide for a 40 litre fridge, but when old mate built the front canopies, I got him to measure the thing. I said, you know, the fridge slide out of this ute's got to go in that, and he buggered it up, but then he wouldn't do anything about it. He said, oh no, it's all right, you know, nothing much we can do there, mate. And wanted me to pay for the repair, and he was the bloke that engineered it and measured it. So I got home and I cut it out, and I made a little place for it. Then I had to modify the fridge slide in a little bit to get it to clear. And look, it's been right for a few years, probably 6 years. It's been fine. But yeah, look, it's useless. If Judy can't pull the handle and pull this out, and it's got gas struts to help, pull it out and drop it down and put a bit of shopping in or something like that when you're camping, you know, put it up out of the rain or something, it's useless to us. So I've got to deal with that. So a new fridge slide's about $1,000. We were thinking of upgrading the fridge before we went up north, up to the Cape. I've got a nice little 40 litre Engel here, and it's probably too small for the big trips. For the normal run around trips and shopping trips and weekend camping trips, a little 40 litre Engel is good, like it's just fine. The 60 litre Kings, it's an El Cheapo brand. I can't fault the damn thing, it's been a beauty. So, but yeah, we were just thinking of upgrading, getting rid of the plastic Kings one and putting something a bit bigger and better in. So with my stuff up the other day, we've probably brought that forward. We are thinking of going for an 85 litre upright. I've got room for an 85 litre upright fridge, but I've never been in favour of the upright ones so much, because when you open them up, the cold air has to drop down. You know, when you're at home and you open the door of the fridge, you can feel the cold air on your feet. Where a chest one, if you bring it out and down, well, you can put your hand in and all the cold air stays in and your beers stay cold. And we looked at a tilt one, you know, they come out and tilt, but in the past, like Jude says, if we go to barbecues or parties, she often does like a Mexican dip, 6-layer dip, or takes a cheesecake, and she says it's all right to travel with it level, but when you get there, to get access, if it's got a tip, well, the top will bloody run off. And we had that once before with the other one. We thought we had it level, but yeah, we got there and the dip was all over. Oh, wasn't all over the thing, it was just in the pot, but it was all, yeah, the appearance had gone crook. So over the next week or two, looks like I'm up for a bit of money for a new fridge or a new slide or a new, I'll have to deal with that somehow. So we'll just see, but yeah, just a moment, not thinking, bloody dopey bugger. But anyway. But look, this has been a long stew this week. I may drop into 2 bits. yeah, we'll just see how it goes on. I was going to film all these gearbox bits and go through them, but I think I'll give that a miss. That might become part of the gearbox thing. We'll just see. But I've got to tidy the bench up to start with. So look, thanks for dropping by. Have a good week, everyone. Yeah, like, subscribe, comment, and watch a few ads for us. And yeah, we'll catch you next week. Hopefully there'll be well, I'm pretty sure there'll be a couple of vids coming out. I do want to get the lift cover off the 65 now. I think I've got enough bits for that. The David Brown, I've got to make a little tool I want to make for testing the hydraulics. I just haven't had time for that with this. I thought I'd just pull this apart, put new bearings in and put it back together again. But I've been all week looking for parts, and then, yeah, so, yeah, things drag out. Anyway, I'll stop talking. We'll catch you all next week. Have a good one. See yous. Well, it's a bit of a rainy day outside today. Just showers, nothing major. But yeah, I've got the slashing. If we look across the tractors there, it's a bit hard. I'll go around the front later. Well, we got in just in time yesterday. I took yesterday to slash the paddock, and if you look down through, the place is looking lovely. So the old dog there she is, loves sitting in the grass. She sits there just looking at looking for little lizards and things. Yeah, but look, the whole place is looking good, and I got the mowing done through the week. I'll just zoom back, go the other way. However that bloody works. There we go. So yeah, I've got the whole place mowed of an evening through the week, and yeah, most of the afternoons through the week I actually jumped on the mowers and the slashes. The slashes were Saturday. Most of the day I was over in the bush over further cleaning up. So yeah, a bit of a showery day today, so I just got in time. So we'll go and have a look at this this little tractor gearbox that I've had over in the scrub. Well, because it's showering, I've got the John Deere 1640, and now my friend Chris gave me this FE35 back end, and it's been over in the bush for ages. He got it from the scrappies. It was going in the truck and they let him have it. So so this morning I'm going to try and unbolt him around here and just see someone's put a stand on it and all. It's had no top on it, so the gearbox is toast, but I'm going to pull it apart and see if that planetary at the back is serviceable. It looks to have been out of the weather, but whether it's got water in it or not, who knows. It's a bit of a lottery, but there is a few good things on it. And if I come around here, we've got a couple of hips. We've got a good lift cover housing. It was a gold tractor. Now, the gold is plain as day in through there. So yeah, it was a gold diesel FE35. So yeah, I'm going to pop that apart. I'm going to undo the bolts around the housing there, and lift the back end off. And I may just strip it this morning while it's raining and see what's usable, but the selectors are all very rusty, so I'll just see if there's anything there worth using. And the other thing is, being a gold one, being an FE35, this will give me an indication on whether the parts on the other 35 that I was thinking of dismantling are any good or not. But yeah, it's got things like, you know, the proper chain with the linch pins on it still, and yeah, there's just good parts here. So I'll see if I can catalogue them and get them out of there. Okay, I've got the assembly all stripped down, and there's a few pleasant surprises. Now, this shaft here from the gearbox to the drive coupling, or the shear tube, on the 65 was all pitted, and I was looking for a new one. Look at this, brand new. Looks really good. I think it's the same. I haven't done a tooth count yet, but that will happen. Now the fork on the fork for the high-low on the 65, the part number is 180443M1, 180443M1. This has MHF on it, the Massey Harris Ferguson. Later on they must have done away with that, as the 65 would be a later tractor. This one is a gold one. The planetary, even though we got all this shit here, the planetary's going to be my next part that I attack. Now, the lift cover, look, there's hardly any rust in there even. For a tractor that sat at the scrap, on the scrap pile, I don't know how long for, but the scrap pile, that's looking pretty good. Inside the box here, that's okay. You can see some heavy scoring on that hydraulic piston down in there. So you can presume the pump's toast, but look, that's fine. Yeah, so I'll keep going. I'll strip this out a little bit. I'm grabbing all the brake rods and things and just marking them, and the side covers and things like that. Because it was a gold tractor, I'm marking them that it is gold, and that way when if I do a restoration on a gold one, I can check part numbers out and just see that everything's the same and all matching. But the coupler here, there's just no wear in the coupler, and the shaft that goes on it is looking real good. So stay tuned, I think we're having a win. Here's the block out of John Dudley's 1929 Farmall regular. So we've got it all cleaned and honed. We've removed the ridge off the top of the liners. I've just got it up here so we can slide the crank in. The crank is over in the parts washer here. I've got all that tidy, and maybe later today I'll get to it. So there's the crank. Boy, that took some cleaning. I don't know what they were using, but yeah, I had to scrub it with these stainless brushes. So crank's good. I should start warming the oil up and get ready to drop those bearings on, I suppose.